friends. Welcome to another game review with Elevation Games. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Jeremy.
And today we're talking about my favorite game, Spirit Island. And we're actually talking about Spirit Island, the base game, plus 2 expansions. Spirit Island was released by Greater Than Games in 2017. And then there was the Jagged Earth Branch and Claw in 2017. And then there was a second expansion, the Jagged Earth, released in 2020. So we play with all 3 of those. So they're all included in with this game review.
Yes. Although most of what we're going to say here, I think applies to the base game as well as the expansions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my favorite game as well. This is literally the game that got us into the hobby.
It was a great gateway drug.
Yeah. We walked into our local board game store. I think it was around my birthday.
It was Jeremy's birthday, and he said, I would really like to buy a board game. And I was like, cool, I like board games. And so we went to local game store. I about had a heart attack when I realized that games cost more than like $10, which is I think what I paid for Yahtzee, the last board game I had bought. And he insisted upon getting Spirit Island. And I was so mad because I thought this game was going to suck.
I didn't know a ton about hobby board gaming at the time. I played Carcassonne years ago. Not Carcassonne, Catan, Settlers of Catan. I didn't play Carcassonne until we played it. But yeah, we went in there, we each picked one. Wendy picked,
some piece of trash.
It was a Warhammer-inspired board game of some kind.
Someday we will pull that out and give it another try, now that we understand board games a little better. Or I do, anyway.
It did not... It did not hook us into the hobby.
No, absolutely.
But this one, literally, it was like a veil had been lifted. Like, we were like, oh, board games can do this. So, this one has a special place in our hearts, but
yeah,
regardless of all of that, I think it is a very, very solid game, period. Especially if you're looking for a good co-op game that works well at really all the way from 1 to... Actually, don't know. Does this go up to 5 players?
Spirit Island and Branch and Claw go up to 4, and then with Jagged Earth, you got 2 additional players. So if you have that expansion, then you can play 1 to 6.
Okay. So what is Spirit Island?
It's the opposite of Settlers of Catan, thematically.
This is true. This is very true. It is a pandemic-like, if you're familiar with that game. Lots of games sort of spawned in the wake of that one. It really is apt here because the invaders do work very much like the diseases in pandemic.
Sure.
The difference here is instead of trying to stop an outbreak, you are spirits on this island trying to stop colonial invaders.
A disease of a different sort.
Yes. And I do mean colonial invaders. We typically don't use the invader cards all that often, but they are in there. So you can really flavor the invaders based on actual colonial powers that existed at the time. You know, there's Dutch and English and Spanish and so they're being very honest about their inspirations here, for sure. But, like I said, you were playing with spirits. The initial game comes with, I think, about 9 spirits total, maybe.
Yeah, more than a handful.
Yeah, and you get a player board. We're using some upgraded foil ones here, but the regular ones are a lot thicker than this.
Yeah, they're thick, and I don't think they're wooden, but they're a really heavy cardboard if they're not wood.
Yeah. Yeah, they're extremely heavy board. Um, but you start with these, and you're basically covering up these two tracks here, and you're taking presence off of this and placing it on the island. Your presence on the island dictates what lands you can reach with your different powers. And you're basically leveling up as you do this. As you remove presence off of your player board and put it on the island, you're getting access to more and more power as the game progresses. So you start out pretty weak, and then as the game progresses, your spirit gets more and more powerful, is able to do more. And there is also a deck building component to this game.
Yes.
When I say your powers, this is what I'm talking about. You have a deck of powers that you can play. You have your starting hand that is unique to your spirit, but then everyone is drafting from a minor and major power card pool that's the same for everyone. And you really get to build your spirit the way that you want to as the game progresses.
That's right. I love this game so much. And then just a note about the spirits. It does take you a while to like get them up to full force, but there are spirits that are a slow burn, and there are spirits that start out really strong and then just get stronger. And each spirit has different kind of unique abilities that they bring onto the board. So the combination of spirits that you choose for everybody playing will really have a big impact. So, for example, my favorite spirit is Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. This guy, he is scary. He is a rude dude, and all he does is generate fear. And what that fear does is scares the colonizers off of the island. But from the start, that's all this character really can do is generate fear. There's not a lot of fighting ability. There's not a lot of blocking ability. He can't move things around, really. All he can do is, like, run up, scare you to death, and then, like, run back into the shadow. So when you're playing with a player like this, it's important that your other teammates are playing with something that has the ability to fight, to block, to push, to pull, to do something to move stuff around so that you can start making inroads against the colonizers coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Every spirit works very differently.
Oh, yeah.
There are no two alike. They're all really unique, and come with really unique and interesting power sets. There are a few ways that you can deal with the invaders as you're going along. As Wendy said, basically every turn you've got your invader deck, and we are using the deluxe invader board that we got at Gen Con.
We haven't played with it yet, and I can't wait to use this guy to play. I've just take it out every day and look at it and admire it and wish that we could play Spirit Island.
So the game that you're going to get out of the box does not come with this huge board. It comes with some smaller pieces and some modular pieces that get added on as you get the expansions.
That's right.
But basically, your invaders, you're going to go through your invader deck. You're going to flip over a card, and it's going to tell you, okay, where are the invaders going to explore this time? And so they'll send out little explorers to different lands on the island. And then after they explore there, they'll build. They'll build houses, and after they do that, they'll ravage the land. And when they ravage the land, they can spread blight around. Blight is one of the ways that you can lose. If the island gets too blighted, then it's not healthy anymore, and the game becomes more difficult. But you have spirits that, as Wendy said, can either directly destroy buildings, kill invaders, do stuff like that. But then you are also, anytime stuff like that happens, obviously it scares the invaders, and so you have this fear deck that you're working your way through. So as you build up fear, you get to draw cards out of this deck that give you bonuses. And as you work your way through that fear deck, those bonuses get stronger and stronger, and your objective gets easier. So to start with, the only way to win is to clear the invaders off the island in entirety. I think we actually did that one time in our entire time playing it. Usually that's not something you're going to do, right? So, but as you go through the fear deck, that win condition gets easier. So once you get to fear level 2, well, now you only have to destroy the buildings. You don't have to get rid of all the invaders. You just have to destroy all the buildings.
That's right.
And then once you get to level 3, you don't have to destroy all the buildings. You just have to destroy the big cities that they can build. And so on and so forth. And then if you get all the way through the fear deck, you just automatically win.
We've done that one time too.
Yes. But yeah, typically you're going to get one of those middle win conditions in there where it gets easier as the invaders get more and more afraid. But obviously, like we said, you have spirits that do direct damage. You have spirits that are really good at defending lands.
That's right.
To stop the invaders from either going into their building or ravaging at all. You have spirits that are really good at preventing blights from spreading, that are really good at removing blights. You even have spirits that actually use the blights against the invaders. So there's really a wide variety of stuff that you can do in this game. And you can build really interesting decks throughout the course of the game. And it's... if you're a video game player, it kind of reminds me of roguelikes a little bit. You're going through and leveling up really quickly. You're getting new powers really quick and building a deck really quickly. But instead of doing that over, a long campaign, you're doing this in a game that takes, I don't know, an hour maybe to play through.
Yeah, an hour and a half, I
Yeah.
feel like. Depending on really the luck of the draw, how things are coming out, and where your spirits start out, where the colonizers start out. So there is a lot, depending on the first couple rounds. So you can get really lucky and just beat everybody down pretty quickly, or they can put a good beating on you before you really find your legs to go along. So it's different every single time. That's one thing I love about this game, is that we've played this so many times. I've played this solo. We've played this together. We've played this with friends. We played this with non-board game playing friends that we just kind of guilted into playing with us. And it's different every single time. And it doesn't depend on the number of players, although that does, factor in sometimes. Just the way that everything comes out, because there are so many power cards that you can draw. There's so many different combinations of spirits that you can have coming in. So we haven't had a game that was even similar in all the time we were playing. And while Greater Than Games could put out anything as an upgrade for this game, and I would buy it. Like, they could put out...
And you have.
I literally own everything that they sell. Like, when we went to Gen Con, that was first order of business for me, was finding Greater Than Games and getting anything that they offered that we didn't have. And so, like, the sales lady in the booth was like, "Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Oh, no. So there were only 2 things that I did not have yet that we have now. One of them being these foil cards and the other being this big board. Okay, so, like, I personally want every single thing that this game puts out. But if you just have the base game, you can play this over and over and over again. There are components that come with the base game that we don't play with, that add extra replayability into this game. And we don't need it. Like, we don't want it, we don't need it. So there are pieces that we don't play with out of the base. But if that was all we had, and you started getting that kind of repetitiveness in playing the game, those are pieces that you can add in. So you don't have to invest, $200 into playing Spirit Island. You could just get the base and play with it, or get the base and branch and claw and play with those. You have such a good variety of spirits, and you have different levels of complexity inside the spirits in the base. And then with the branch and claw, which was a small inexpensive upgrade, I think it cost $20 when we bought it in 2018 or 2019, so it wasn't that expensive to add that expansion in, but we could have stopped there and been fine. Unfortunately, I again want everything, any upgrade, any expansion, anything, because I love this game. And when an expansion comes out, then that's just gonna add into the fun of the game, I feel like.
Yeah, and the expansions are really well done. They add just enough extra stuff without adding too much complexity. I personally, I think I would recommend just getting the base game to start with.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's the game in its purest form, the simplest form. And it is so good already. I think you'll enjoy it. And then once you've played through that a few times and you want to add some extra pieces onto it, the expansions are both really nicely done, and I think worth the price. One thing I do want to stress for sure, though, is that this game is really finely tuned. One thing that I've noticed for sure can happen with deck builders. They can be really swingy. I'm thinking about Hogwarts Battle, for instance. That while we enjoy that game, we had a lot of fun with it. Especially as in the later years, as that game gets more and more advanced. Some of those can really, just depending on how things play out, the luck of the draw literally can make it basically impossible for you to win.
Or make it to where you feel like you're playing year one again. So there's just some balancing opportunities to improve there, and you don't see that in Spirit Island.
No, they do give you a lot of really fine-grained ability to tune the difficulty. There are a lot of different ways you can mess with it, like more than I've seen in maybe any other board game. You can, like I said, you can add those colonist cards that give the colonizers a new flavor. It also make them harder, and you can tune those up and down. They're not just one set difficulty. You can add some special powers. There's a lot of different things you can add or subtract to make the game more or less difficult or complicated.
Yeah.
And that while that is something that other board games have, this one probably has the most, and you can really zero in on the difficulty that feels good to you in a way that I don't think I've ever seen anywhere else. But even as you're doing that, even as you're going up and down with that difficulty, it never feels, like I said, like some of those. And I don't want it to sound like I'm picking on Harry Potter. I could say this about several other deck builders that we have played as well.
Yeah.
A lot of them have that issue where it just really swings. And Spirit Island never does. It's pretty steady, no matter, even with all of these variables thrown into the stew, it's always a pretty steady experience. You feel overwhelmed at the beginning, you get that nice power curve, and then figure out whatever strategy you're going for towards the end. It's really well done.
I agree. There's a lot of thought that has been put into the playability of this game. I'll say another thing. We have 6 maps. The map pieces fit together modularly. It's a hard word for Elmo. But you can see they fit together. There's different constructions that you use based on how many players you're playing with. And they're also double-sided, so you can play with a little bit more of a natural-looking map. I personally, this one is harder for me to see, so I like just playing with the basic one. But that natural-looking map is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. But we've been playing this game pretty regularly for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And these are so, like, heavy-duty constructed. You don't heavy-duty? I don't know. They're well constructed. How's that? That you don't necessarily see the wear from the constant use on these guys. Like, looking at it, there's a little bit where the corner here is coming up after 4 years of pretty regular play. If that's the only damage that I'm seeing on these map boards, then I'm gonna consider this a win, because this is the A board. It doesn't matter if you're playing solo or if you're playing with 6 players. This one is always on the board, and it's the one that's showing a little bit of wear, and that's it. So the game is built to last. Mm-hmm. And because you can play it so many different ways, even with the base, there's so many different ways that you can play this game. It's something that you can play over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another, again, flipping the map like that for the natural looking side, that's another difficulty tweak. Actually, that side is supposed to be a little bit more difficult than the standard side. So again, there's just all these little different things you can do to tweak that difficulty slider, which is really, really nice. I don't have a lot else to say. I mean, it's one of our favorite games for a reason. If you haven't played it, find a copy. They're out there. They're not hard to find. In fact, there is a simplified version coming to Target soon.
Yeah. Are we going to buy that one?
If I can't stop you, yes. So, and Greater Than Games came out, I believe, and said that, they didn't want to dumb it down for Target, so instead they have streamlined stuff, but it supposedly has roughly the same level of complexity as you would get from the actual game. So, I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that one comes out, but if you can get a copy of the original, it's absolutely worth it. I say if you can. I mean, this game is available. This is one we can recommend heartily, that you can easily get your hands on.
That's right. You should be able to find it in any local game store. You also can find it online. Any game convention that you're at, you're going to find them, and you will find people to play with you too, because I don't know anybody that does not like this game, because it's so amazing. I'm
great
so
co-op game. Great co-op game. Great couple game, like we talked about before. This is definitely up there on our list.
Yes, when we're just having like date night in, it's not uncommon for us to throw down Spirit Island, play around, eat some pizza, and just have a nice, couples night at home, having a little Spirit Island date.
Yeah. It's great. It's thematic. Again, I said this about my father's work, but it's true. It's even more true about this. The theme. It's easy to forget this now because we've been playing it for so long, but this theme was very groundbreaking when it came out. I'm not aware of any other game that has theming like this, where you are playing as spirits fighting off colonizers. So great work all around. Greater Than Games. Thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. We're gonna play this though, right?
Yes, we are going to stream this in a minute.
Okay.
If you guys like this, if you want to see more stuff like this, Please subscribe. We'll be doing some more reviews, some playthroughs.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about the games that we make as well, that are going to be coming out. Sign up for our newsletter if you want to stay up to date on what's going on.
Sure. And you can find all of that at elevation.games. I feel like I also should make a video and maybe a blog post about all of the upgrades that we have for this game. Too, so that you can see what all's out there if you play Spirit Island and you love it, to see what options you have and just see like if there's something that you like and want to try out or not, because we have again all of them.
We do.
But until that gets posted, we will be here posting more game reviews, posting more playthroughs, showing you the stuff that we create ourselves, and everything else board game related.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See ya.